discuss about the data visualization. So basically, I'm just share some PPTs. We discuss some PPTs, and then we will go directly on the hands-on practices. Okay. So basically, for this session, I'm going to use the Python as my programming language, and I'm going to use the tool as a Spider. You can use any tool of your own choice. You can go for Anaconda. You can use Jupyter Notebook. You can use Python, plain Python. You can use Python libraries for this type of hands-on. Okay, so the selection of the tools is depends on you. For this session I am going to work, I'm going to select the spider. I'm going to select spider as my tool. Okay, so basically what data visualization is all about, why this session is very important for all the researcher, because data visualization is one of the most important fundamental aspects whenever we do any type of research. Because what happened, whatever the data we are having, we are not able to directly analyze each and everything which is available inside the data. So to properly identify the data or to properly analyze the data, we require the help of this data visualization. So data visualization is the graphical representation of the information and the data. Whatever the data that we are having, we are going to extract some valuable information. Okay, so for such kind of work, for the analysis part, we are going to use the data visualization. So by using the visual elements like charts, we are having lots of data visualization parameters, like we are able to extract or analyze the data in the form of charts, or you are going to use the graph, maps. So for all these things, we are having some data analysis or data visualization. So data visualization tools is useful to provide an accessible way to see and understand trends, outliers, and patterns in data. Whatever the data that you are going to be collected for your analysis part. Okay, because what happened, we are having lots of data, we are having thousands of fields in our table, but how to analyze those data directly from the table, it is very difficult task. So for the analysis of the data, we require the help of this data visualization tool. Okay, so when you think about the data visualization, your first thought probably immediately goes to the simple bar graph or pie chart. So in today's session, I am going to take some basic examples related with the different types of charts, graphs, and whatever the data visualization tool I am having. And with the help of the hands-on practices, you are also able to came across how to generate the graph, how to generate the bar graph, how to generate the pie chart, how to generate the scatter plot. Okay, so there are many number of graphs and pie charts are all available. Okay, so there, while this may be integral part of visualizing the data and a common baseline for many data graphics, as we know that whatever the data we are having, we have to rightly analyze all those data, and the data is going to be analyzed easily with the help of these data graphics. So we are having lots of information. Now we are going to convert those information in the form of graph. So how to plot the graph? What are the necessary tools we require? What are the libraries we require? What are the functions we require? All these things we are going to be discussed in this 2-hour session. Okay. So if I'm going to talk about the data visualization, so as far as as far as data visualization type is concerned, there are different types of parameters we are having. We are going to visualize our data in the form of charts. We can draw some kind of tables. We can analyze the data in the form of graphs. If you thought that you want to identify some data in the, so that we are having some maps. If you want to provide some kind of information with the graphs, without having, for that we are having infographics and different types of dashboards. So basically, for this session, we are going to use the matplot library, or we will use the matplot library, because in most of the graphs we require the help of this matplot library. So what this matplot lib is all about? Matplot is one of the libraries that is going to be used for data visualization. Okay, so if you want to install this matplot library, you have to only use one command, pip install matplot library. For that you require one internet connectivity, and then you are able to draw the graphs. Okay, so if I'm going to talk about the matplot library, it is one of the library for creating static, animated, and interactive visualization in Python. Suppose I'm going to draw a line plot. Okay, for that drawing a line plot, okay, I am going to require the help of matplot library. Okay, so in today's session, we are mostly dealing with the matplot library. Sometimes we are dealing with the NumPy, and at some place we are going to use the Seaborn. Okay, so matplot is one of the library that are going to be used for the data visualization. Okay, it is the most popular graphing and data visualization library for Python. So whenever you came across any graphical representation of the data in the Python, you can identify this library, which is called as matplot library. So without wasting much more time on the, what we can say, on the slides, we can directly go on the hands-on. Okay, I'm just sharing my screen. Just wait. Okay. So for the today's session, I am going to use the Spider. Okay. So Spider is one of the tools that is going to be used for writing the Python program. You can use Anaconda, you can use Jupyter, you can use Kaggle, you can use Google Colab. So the selecting which tool you want to use, it depends on you. For today's session, I'm going to use the Spider. So my Spider screen is visible to all of you. Okay.
Not visible, sir.
Not visible?
No, sir. Not visible.
Okay, okay. Just wait. I'm going to share the screen. Now it is visible.
Visible, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
So basically, this is the overview of integrated development. This is the idea of a Spider. Okay. So these are, you are already seen 3 types of windows in this console. The first, which is this type of window, is useful for writing the code. Whatever the code you want to write, that code is going to be written over here. Okay. Whatever the output you want, this output is going to be viewed. The output is going to be viewed on this window where you can identify the usage, and this window is useful to see what are the different errors that are, if you having any error in your program, so these errors are going to be written and highlighted in this window. So these are the 3 windows that are going to be used in the Spider. Okay, and these are the menu bars that are here. If you want to run all the programs at a single instance, this is the run. Okay, so with the help of this play button, you are able to run all the programs. If you want to run only selected code, we are going to use this. Okay, so I came across your, already you must aware about the Jupyter notebook. Yesterday Santosh Kumar sir already took hands-on on the Jupyter notebook. So in the same way, we are not using Jupyter, we are only dealing with the Spider book. Okay, so whenever we start with the Spider, okay, so first thing you have to import your OS, because what happens whenever we do the installation, so we have to generate the path. Okay, so my whatever the Spider software that I am having, it is already loaded in the D drive. That's why I am having the change the directory of the working. Otherwise, by default, the working directory is only C drive. Okay, so for that I am going to change the directory, and the directory is going to be changed by os.change directory, and we have to show the path. Okay, so in the first graph or first plot we are going to draw is we are going to draw the first plot, and this is called as our first plotting algorithm. So what is the program for that? So this is the required module for we are having. Whenever we want to draw a chart, suppose if I am going to run the program and then I'm going to explain each and everything to all of you. First of all, I'm going to run this command. I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to run the selected command with the help of this. So the command is going to be run. So this command is very important for me as far as for my software is concerned, because with the help of this command I am able to identify and set the path for my libraries. Initially my software is going to be available at the D drive. That's why I'm going to load this. It will take some time. Okay, so basically we are going to plot the first graph. Okay, so this is already run. You can identify it in here that it is already run. Now we are going to write our first code. I think each and everyone is having their own laptop, so that they are able to understand and run the programs, whatever the programs we see in this session. Okay, so the first plot that we are going to draw is our simple graph. Okay, so whenever we want to draw a simple plot, okay, so first of all we have to import the libraries. So here in this case, for any type of program, whether you want to run any type, whether any type of graph or any type of graph, the first thing is nothing but you have to import the libraries. Okay, so for importing the libraries, there are different types of libraries we are having. We are having matplot library, we are having numpy, we are having seaborn. There are lots of libraries we are having, and each and every library is having their own test. Okay, and then on the basis of that, we are able to run the different programs. So the first program is related with the simple plot graph, where we are going to draw the graph. In this case, the first thing is nothing but we have to import the library, import matplotlib.py plot. This is one of the library we require. Matplot is a library, py is and we are going to show these libraries with the help of plt. So at the end of the day, whenever we complete our program, at the end of the program, you can show plt.show. It means that whatever the libraries that we are going to be include, it's going to be shown. Okay, so if you want to implement the graph, or if you want to generate the graph for any function, the first thing is nothing but you have to import the library. So here in this case, I am going to import the library. Okay, so the name of the library is import matplotlib.py plot. So matplot is a function, matplot is a library, py plot is going to be considered as a function, and plt is the name given to the variable. So plt act as a variable. Now in a simple, whenever we draw any type of simple graph, we know that there are two types of axis we are having. One is x axis and another is y axis. Okay, so initially for plotting a graph, we have to define the x axis, and for that x axis we have to define corresponding y axis as a list. So whatever the graph that we want to plot, okay, the values of the x axis and the y axis is going to be shown with the help of list. So how we are going to show the list or declare the list? So the first thing you have to know is nothing but you have to implement, or you have to import the matplot library that is going to be implemented. Then we have to define two axes, that is x axis and a y axis, because we know that for any type of graph we require two axes, x axis and a y axis. Okay, so what this x axis is nothing but, x axis consists of a list which consists of three variables. We are going to define this list which consists of three variables, 1, 2, 3, and for this corresponding x axis we are having y axis, because in a graph we are having two parameters, x axis and y axis. Okay, so we are also define, here we implement the x axis. Okay, and it is going to be represented in the form of list. Then we are having one more parameter, that is nothing but our y axis, and we also it is going to be shown in the form of list. So for both x axis and y axis we are having three parameters, and it is going to be implemented in the form of list. So x axis consists of three parameters, 1, 2, 3, and y is also consist of a list which consists of three parameters or three values, that is called as 2, 4, 1. Now we have to plot the point. How we are going to plot the point? For x axis, for one value we can, 1 is associated with 2, the second value 2 is associated with 4, and the third value 3 is associated with 1. So in this way we have to make, or we have to plotting the points. So we have to plotting the points. How we are going to plot the points? Plot them on a canvas with dot plot function. So dot plot here in this case, dot plot is a function which is useful for plotting the graph, so which we have to plot the graph on x axis and y axis. That's why we write plt is nothing but we already import a library, import matplotlib.py plot as plt. So plt is, we can consider it as a variable. So plt dot, we have to plot a graph. That's why we have to use one function, that is nothing but dot plot. And for this plot, for whom, what are the two axes we are having? X comma y. It means that 1 is associated with 2, 2 is associated with 4, and 3 is associated with 1. Okay, up till now what we do, we are already implemented a library, then we defined the two axes, x axis and y axis. now we are going to plotting the points. After plotting the points, if you thought that I want to generate the label for x-axis and y-axis. Okay, so we have to give the label to both x-axis and y-axis. So how we are going to give the naming the axis? Now we are going to give the name to the axis. It is again going to be considered as plt dot x label. So dot x label in this case and dot y label in the another case is the function that is going to be used to give the label to the graph. So for x-axis, we can use a parameter as plt.x label, and whatever the labels you require, you have to write inside the bracket in a single quotation or double quotation. In the same way, if you want to give the label to the y-axis, we have to write plt.y label is a function. Okay, so x label and y label is a function. Which type of label you require will require the label as y-axis. Okay, so in this program, what we do, we already implemented a matplot library and it is used as a PLT. We are going to define two axes. Then after that, we are going to plot the graph with the help of dot plot function. Then we are going to give the label to the x-axis and y-axis with the help of dot x label and dot y label. And now, if you thought that if you want to give the title to your graph, for giving the title to your graph, we are going to use one more function, dot title. So for plotting the graph, we are having dot plot function. For giving the label, we are having dot x label, dot y label. If you want to give the title to your graph, we are having one more function, dot title. So the use of this dot title function is to give a title to your plot, whatever the graph that we are going to be draw, or what we write the program. If you want to give the title to your graph, it can be given with the help of this dot title. And again, the last, whatever the coding that we want to show this plotting of the graph, we are going to use dot show function. So function which is going to be used to show the plot. So dot show is useful to view the plot, whatever the plot that we draw in this window. To view this graph, we are going to use dot show function. Okay, whatever the comment, if you come across if you came across this hash corresponding by axis, so this hash symbol is going to be used to give the comment to your program. Okay, because whatever the programs we are having, most of the time we are not able to know if our program is read by someone else. He is not able to know which function, which code is written for what. So to identify the concept behind the code, we are going to use some kind of comments, as you already aware about the comments that are going to be used by you in C and CPP. In the same way, we are able to give the comments. Okay, so in this simple program, we are going to plot a graph. Okay, we will give the labels to your x-axis and a y-axis. Okay, with the help of dot x label and dot y label. Then we want to plot a graph. We are going to use dot plot function here. Okay, if you want to give the title to your graph, you can use dot title function. You can observe most of the time I am going to use PLT because PLT is going to be declared over here. That's why I am going to write PLT. You can use anyone by your own way. Okay, and at the last of the program, I am going to use dot show. Dot show function is useful to view your plot. Now I am going to run this program. Okay, now I am going to select this up till plot dot show, and now I am going to run this program. Okay, now I am not able to identify any kind of errors in this console window. Okay, now I am going to check which type of plot I am getting. In the output window, you are able to come to know that variable explorer help plot. So if you click on this plot, you are able to see the graph. So if you closely observe this graph, you can come to know that the title of the graph is my first graph. You can change if you by your own convenience. You can give the label. The label is given in the form of x-axis and y-axis. X-axis and y-axis. You can change the label by your own way. If you want to give the label, you have to use the function as dot x label and dot y label. Okay, and plot dot show is useful to show to view the graph. So here in this case, one is associated with 2. So 1 is associated with 2. 2 is associated with 4. 2 is associated with 4, and 3 is associated with 1. So here in this case, the interval is taken by automatically by your own code, source code, on the basis of the interval that are going to be used. Keep in mind, whenever you want to generate your own data set, which consists of variable in the form of numbers, at that time you have to use list. Okay, so this is one of the graph. If you want to change the label, suppose I want over here, you can change the name by your own way. Okay, so it depends on you by which way you want to learn. So this is one of the simple program for plotting a graph. So here in this program, what we do, we already use different types of functions. Keep in mind this function, because this function we are going to use in this session. Okay, because these functions are repeatedly used by each and every parameters in our graph. Whenever we do data visualization and we want to plot the graph, okay, at that time, most of the time we are going to deal with the same types of things. So this is one of the program where we can see only one graph, which consists of only one line. If you thought that you required 2 or more lines on the same plot, okay, so how you can plot 2 or more lines on the same plot? Again, I am going to show you some same parameter. For same, what we are having, we are going to import a library. We are going to use a matplot library. Okay, that's why I'm going to import the library. Importing the library is compulsory for each and every type of programs that are going to be read by you. Okay, so again, I'm going to use the same matplot library as PLT. I'm going to explain. Now I require 2 lines. Okay, in my graph, I am going to require 2 lines. Okay, in this program, I am going to draw only one line. If you thought that you require 2 or more lines, you can declare your variable. Okay, suppose my line 1 point, I have to declare line 1 point. Again, I am going to use the list as x1 comma y1. You can give any type of name as per your own convenience. Okay, but use variable name in such a way that it is not going to be create confusion at the end of the program. Because sometimes what happens, if you are not able to give the variable name properly, you are not able to identify. Sometimes it can create the complexity and it can create the confusion. So this is my line 1. That's why I'm giving using the variable name as x1. For x1, I'm having 3 points, 1 comma 2 comma 3, as we used in the previous example. And for y1, previous case it is x comma y. Now I'm going to use x1 comma y1. Why I'm going to use x1 comma y1? Because I'm having 2 lines in my plot. Okay, I'm going to plot the 2 lines for this specific graph. Okay. Now, once I am going to decide the x and y coordinate, so these are the coordinate for x and y for line 1. Now I'm going to plot the line. Okay, so right now I'm going to plot only 1 point. So for plotting the line 1, for plotting the point of line 1, I'm going to use plt.plot. Okay, what are the 2 variables we are having? x1 comma y1, and we have to give the label. You can also give the label directly here, and my label is given to is nothing but line 1. Here in the above case, if I'm going to compare the same way, you can give the label as x axis and y axis, because you did not have 2 lines, you are having a single line, so there is no need to import much more parameter in this case. Okay, so you can simply plot the x comma y because you are having only 1 line, but in this case we are having 2 lines. That's why I'm going to explain this, distinguish these 2 lines as x1 comma y1. These are the coordinate for line 1, and I'm going to consider as plt.plot. Plot is a function that are going to be used to plot the graph. Okay, then x comma y is the coordinate. I'm going to use the list. Okay, then I'm going to use label. Now for line 2, again for line 2, I'm having some coordinates x comma y. x1 comma y1 is for line x1 comma y1 is for line 1, and x2 comma y2 is for line 2. Again, I'm going to represent the coordinates. Again, I'm going to use the list. Here I'm going to plot for line 1. Now I'm going to plot for line 2. Again, I'm having what are the coordinates I'm having? x2 comma y2, and I'm going to give the label as line 2. So in this case, I am giving the label to only line. I am not giving the label to x-axis and y-axis. Now, if you thought that if you want to give the label to x-axis and y-axis, we are going to use the function as dot x label and dot y label. Okay, so how we are going to plot the labels? We are having one function we already used in the previous example as plt dot x label, and what name you want you can write over here, x axis, and now if you want to give the naming to the y axis, again you can use plt dot y label, and it is going to be called as y axis. Now this dot x label we cannot change because it is the function, it is the inbuilt function which is going to be considered by the Python. So you can use this label, cannot be changed. This plt is going to be changed. It is going to be, if you write abc, it is going to be as abc dot x label. Okay, so where you saw plt, it is going to be replaced by abc, and it is the variable name that is going to be declared for matplotlib. So now in this two-line graph, I am going to give the naming. Okay, this is the line 1 coordinate. This is for line 1 coding. This is the line 2 coding, where I am going to create a list and give the coordinates to them, x and y coordinates. Now I am going to plot and give the name. Now I am going to give the label to x-axis and y-axis. We are going to use the dot x label and dot y label. And now we want to give the title to our graph. For giving the title, we are going to use dot title is a function. Okay, so plt dot title. Okay, so what is the title? We are giving the title as 2 lines on the same graph. Okay, now once you give the title, if you thought that if you want to show the legend for your program, you can show the legend. Okay, we plot 2 lines on the same graph. We differentiate between them by giving them a name label. Okay, these 2 lines are going to be distinguished with the help of this label. That's why we are going to use the label inside the function, and we are going to pass the argument with the help of dot plot function. Okay, so dot plot going to be used as a function, and we are going to pass the parameter. Now what is the use of this dot legend? Okay, this in the previous example we saw that there is a small rectangular box. This is the what happens whenever we draw 2 lines. Okay, we require the information of what is a red line and what is blue line or what is yellow line represent. Okay, so for giving the information, we require the help of this dot legend function. So with the help of this dot legend function, a small rectangular box gives information about type of line and its color. That's why it is called as legend. So we can add a legend to our plot by using dot legend function. So how this legend is going to be work? Whenever we execute our program, you can get the output, and from that output you can come to know that what is the use of this dot legend. And again, plot dot show is a function to view the graph. So now I am going to delete this previous one. Now I am going to use the latest one. So for lining 2 graph, we declare 2 lines. Okay, we define the coordinate. Then we can define a label for each plot. Then we can give the labeling to x-axis and y-axis. Then we are giving the title to the program. Then we are going to use the legend function, which is useful for showing the type and line of the color. And then we are going to show the graph. Now I am going to run this code. So there is no error. Console is very. Now we can see the plot. So these are the 2 lines on the same graph. Okay. So what is this legend here? You are familiar with these 2 lines, but you are not familiar with this legend. So this is the small rectangular block. We are going to use dot legend function. Okay. So this dot legend function is going to be used to give the information of. So blue line represent line 1, and this orange line represent the line 2. So here in this case, this way we are giving the label line 1, line 2. This label is going to be called by the sorting function with the help of this legend. So in this way we are going to be draw 2 lines on a same graph, and we are going to use the legend, and with the help of this legend we are able to know, which is going to be used to give the information about the different types of lines. If you want to add more, you can add more by your own way. So in this way, now what you come to know that from line 1 and line 2, you can easily analyze which type of data that we are having. Okay, so if you want to call or use any type of data set, you can use any type of data set for initial phase. If you want to only try out some example, you can use your own data set, just create a list and you can work it on. Okay, now the another example that we are going to be used for data visualization is nothing but our customization of the plots. So what is the customization of the plot? If you thought that you require some kind of different types of plots, you did not require any simple line, you require any different types of lines if you require. Okay, so for that parameters, we are going to use the customization of the plot. Okay, so for customization of the plot, we have to keep all the things are already, most of the things are same. That is, we have to import the libraries, we have to give the values for x-axis and y-axis. Now what is important for us, we have to plotting the lines. Now in what way we require the lines, that is very important whenever we want to customize any plot. Okay, so we have to my screen is visible to you? Okay, charging problem. Okay,
Visible, sir. Visible.
okay. So for customization of the plot, we have to set the line. Okay, just wait. So what is the use of this line graph? Whatever the changes that are going to be happen, to track the changes over the short and long period of time, we require the help of this chart. Okay, please move this window away from your shared application. So whenever we talk about the plotting of the graph, okay, so there are different types of graphs. We already saw two types of graphs. Okay, so the first graph is related with the line graph, and if you want to draw two or more lines in the same graph, for that we are going to use two lines. For that we are going to define the labels for each and everything, and then we can use the legend function to differentiate the things. As it is getting overloaded, just wait, I am going to stop sharing and again I am going to share. Just wait. I can get the message continuously as admit. That's why I am having some problem with my site. So basically, whenever we plot any type of graphs, what are the functions we require? We are having matplot library. Okay, that is one of the very important library that are going to be used to plot any type of graph. Okay. Then we are having one more parameter, that is if you want to give the label to your graph, we are going to use a dot x label and dot y label. Okay. If you want to use a title to your graph, for that we are having dot title function. Okay, if you thought that if you want to show your graph to other, for that we are having function that dot show. So for most of the time we are going to use dot plot dot plt, which is already going to be declare at the time of library import math.lab.pyplot again as a PLT. We have to plot any type of graph and the name is given as a PLT. So I am having some, my spider is, I just closed my spider and just I came back to you. So up till now, I'm just discuss the several things with all of you up till now. Okay. So for plotting any type of graph, okay, we are having different types of variables you have to keep in mind if you want to generate the legend. PPT is visible to you. Okay, okay. Screen not visible, sir. Blank red screen visible, screen not visible. Now PPT is not visible. Okay, okay. Just wait. I'm not having network issue, but it is totally get blur. Okay. I think I have to leave the meeting and again I can join so that everything will be fine. Just wait for 5 minutes. I'm extremely sorry to convener that I'm having some issue from my side. I will resolve the issue. Just give me 5 minutes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
I'm sorry, sir. So basically for plotting the graph, okay. So again, there are different types of graphs that we are having. You are going to do the customization of all the plots. Okay. If you thought that if you want some kind of customization, okay, suppose you thought that I want some, what we can say, dotted lines in your graph. For that, we require some kind of customization. Okay. And we can do the customization with the help of some kind of libraries that we are able to use. So most of the basic libraries are same, but only we have to modify with some parameters. Okay. So what these parameters we require whenever we do the customization of the plot, we have to again we require some kind of labels. Okay. So you can give the label as per your convenience. Okay. Then plotting the point is very important because whenever we want to plot the graph, we know that we are having one function .plt. Okay. So in this case, you have to define the color. Suppose I am going to define the color as a green. You require a line style. What? Suppose I want the line in the form of a dash line. So I am going to define the criteria for line style as a dash. What is the width? It is considered as 2, 3, 1, 0. It is depends on you. And then what is the face color and what is the marker size? So what is the dotted line? Dotted line represent the dash line. Then marker face color means whatever the dots you can get, okay, on the graph, it is going to be represented with the help of mark face color, and you have to define the size. After that, you have to setting the x-axis and y-axis range, and it is going to be done with the help of dot y limit and dot x limit. So dot x lim and dot y lim, these are the two parameters that are going to be considered to setting the range of x-axis and a y-axis. Okay, so just wait. I think I have to leave the meeting and again join so that I am able to come on the track. Just wait. Okay, I'm extremely sorry that I'm having some issue from my side. I'm really extremely sorry again. So where we are? Okay, so where we are going to customize the plot. Okay, for the customization of the plot, we already having some parameters. The parameters are same that we already used in the previous two examples. But now in this case, what we are going to do? We are going to do the customization of the plot. Okay, for the cool customization. Okay, what we use, we are already having so for the customization of the plot, we are already having some parameters. Okay, in this case, again we import one library as matplot library. It is going to be represent as plt. Then we are going to define the two axes, x-axis and a y-axis. Then what we require, x-axis and hello sir. Host a disable participant screen sharing, sir. I can get the error as host a disabled screen sharing. Yes, sir. I'm just right, but I'm not able to share my screen. Yes, sir. I already joined. I joined, sir. Yeah, I saw my name, sir. And whenever I want to share my screen, I get the message as host disabled participant screen sharing.
I will make it, sir. I will make it.
Yes, sir.
I will make it.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. Okay. Now I'm able to share my screen, sir. Okay, my screen is visible to all of you. Okay. So whatever the previous two example, what we see that we only simple draw a graph with the help of line. Okay. So what is the role of this line graph? If you want to track the changes over the short and long period of time, at that time we are going to use the line graph. Now in next example, we are going to do the customization of the plot. Okay. So for this case, again, we are going to use the same thing. We are going to import a library. Then we are going to define the values for x-axis and a y-axis. For the representation of x-axis and y-axis, whatever the values you required, it should be represented in the form of list. For declare the list, you require to whatever the list you want to generate, it should be in the square bracket. Okay. Then now we are going to plotting the points. Now whenever we want to plot the point, we have to define the color. Okay. So what is the color? As a green, dot plot is a function to plot the graph. What is the line style? You require the line style as a dash. It means that it can show some dash when we draw the line. Okay, we have to marking as a O. Now we have to mark the face color. Okay, we have to setting the marker face color and marker size. Okay, so whenever we define this, it is going to be used. Marker face color is a blue. It means that it is a blue line, blue dot. And what is the marker? Marker size is nothing but our 12. So it is going to show the size of the bed. Then we have to define the range. Okay. So whenever we draw any customization plot, we have to define the range. Okay. So overriding the x and y axis range. Okay. If overriding is not done, py plot module uses auto scale feature. So we are not going to define. We are going to define a range so that they are able to plot a graph according to us. Otherwise, what happens? If you don't define this parameter, it can consider as by default module, and it can use the auto scale feature to set the axis range and scale. Okay. So here I'm going to decide the range. I'm going to identify the maximum value, and on the basis of that, I'm going to define the limitation of x-axis and y-axis. So here in these two cases, I'm going to define the parameter. Then afterwards, I'm going to define the label x-axis and y-axis. The name of x-axis labeling is given in the form of x-axis and y-axis. Then I'm going to give the title, and then I'm going to show the plot. So here in this case, I'm going to run this code for the customization of the plot. So there is no error in our plot. Now we are going to see in the here. So this is in this way our plot is going to be visible to everyone. Some cool customization is the name. X and y axis is the level. We require dashed line. We are going to define the size of the line. We are going to define the face color. Okay, marker face color and marker face size. So all these terms is going to be defined in our program, and in this way we are going to draw the graph. So this is another example for drawing the graph whenever you require any customization. Now, most common graph that we use most of the time in our research work is related with the bar graph. Okay, so what is the use of this bar graph? You should know, because what happens whenever you are dealing with the data visualization, and if you thought that you want to plot a graph, so you have to decide the type of the graph on the basis of which type of data that you are having and in what way you want to represent your data. Okay, so on the basis of this, you are able to draw the graph. So next type of graph we are going to be plot is nothing but our bar graph. We can call it as bar chart. Okay. So what is the use of this bar chart? It is used to show the comparison. If you are having different number of categories of the data, if you are having different data which consists of different categories. So to show the comparison in between the categories of the data, we are going to use the bar chart. Okay. And whenever we use bar graph, it always consists of two areas. Okay. So whenever we are having a bar chart, we are having again two types of axis. We are having x-axis and a y-axis, and on the basis of that, we are going to show the comparison in between the different parameters. Okay, so again, I'm going to use one library, matplot library. Now I'm going to define the x coordinates, which is available on the left side of the bar, and then we are going to define the height of the bar. Okay, so what is this x coordinate? X coordinate are nothing but whenever you draw any type of graph, okay, you have to show the length of that axis. Okay, you have to give the values or labeling to each and everything. That's why for x coordinates, whatever the x coordinates we are having on the left side of your bar, we are going to define as 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, these are the x coordinates which are available on the left hand side of the bar. Okay, after implementing the matplot library, we are going to use the coordinates as we use in the previous example x comma y. Now we have to show the height of the bar. Okay, because what happens whenever we draw any bar graph, we have to show the height. For example, for 1 I require 10, for 2 I require height as a 24, for 3 the quantity is 36. Suppose 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, these are my dates, and on how much money I am going to be earned on that day. So on 1 I am earning 10 rupees, on 2 I am earning 24 rupees. Suppose I am going to consider it as a height. So you have to define the height of the bar. Okay, so the height of the bar is going to be, again, is a type of list. In the previous example, whenever we draw a simple line graph, at that time we can talk about the x comma y. These are the two lists we are going to be declared. But in bar graph, same, we are going to use two lists, but in this case we are expecting this as a, though it is a bar graph, we are having left hand side coordinator which is available on the left side of the bar. We can call it as x coordinates, and we on y axis we are having height of the bar. So how we are going to customize this graph? X axis consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and y axis consists of height of a person 10, 24, 36, 40, and 5. Now you have to give the labels to the bar. Okay, so the labeling of the bar is given in the form of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are the label of the graph. Here in this case, for drawing a bar chart, we are going to use plot.bar. plt.bar is going to be used to plot the bar chart. Okay, so here now we are going to give the label. Now what tick labels we require? Tick labels are nothing but, though you write over, though you declare the left as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you have to give sub tick labels. It means that you should understand. If you don't want to give this tick label, it depends on you. Okay, but if you give the tick labels, it will understand the parameters that are going to be used. So here in this case, we are going to use the tick label. You can also give some name to x-axis coordinate by giving the tick label. So whatever the x-axis we are having, x-axis coordinate we are having, we are going to use the tick label. X coordinate on the left hand side of the bar are nothing but height of the bar. All these terms are already explained and declared in this program. Okay, now we are going to plotting a graph. Now again, for plotting a bar chart, we require as a function as plot.bar. Bar is a function for which is going to be used to draw the bar graph. Okay, so we have to define the left. What is the left? We are having left is nothing but our x coordinate. This is already 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we are having height. These are the height 10, 24. Then we are having tick label. Tick label is already given. So tick label are nothing but our 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then what is the width? Whenever we draw any bar graph, it is having some width. So how much width you require? 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. I am going to use the 0.8 as my width. And now we have to represent the color. So when we use two different colors, it means that alternately for 1 there is one color, for 2 another color, for 3 again same color, for 4. So alternately you can give the color if you want. If you don't want to give alternate color, you can write only one color name. Okay, so in this case I want to give two different types of colors to my graph that I'm going to be plot. Okay, so after in this bar graph, again we are having left, we are giving y-axis as a height, then we are going to label the bars as a tick label with the help of tick label. Then we are going to plotting a bar chart. We are having left height, we are going to tick the labels. Then we have to define the width of the height or a bar chart width. Then we have to define the color. Red green means it can take two colors. For 1 red, second is green, third is red, 4 is green, 5 is again red. Okay, so in this way it can consider the alternate color. If you want that I don't want two different colors, you can use a single color. After rest of the things are same that we already done in the previous example. That is, we have to give the label to your x-axis and a y-axis. So what are the two labels we are having, x-axis and y-axis, and you can give the title as my bar chart. Okay, now we are going to show the plot. The dot show is a function which is useful for showing the plot. Now I am going to show the execution of this program. So in this way we can get the graph. You can closely observe that this is the height 10, 24, 36, 40 and 5. These are the labels. We are going to use the tick label as 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. These are the tick label 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. We can use two different colors, red and green. Alternately it can show red and green color. So here in this case, in this example, what three things you have to keep in mind. We can use plot.bar as a function. Plt.bar is a function that is going to be used to plot a bar chart. That is the first thing. Then for x coordinates of the left side of a bar are going to be passed with the help of height. These two things are very important. If you are not able to declare these two things properly, you are not able to get the proper chart. So this is one of the second thing you have to keep in mind whenever you draw any bar chart. And then we are going to use the tick label. If you don't want to use the tick label, your graph did not look very good. So for giving some sense to a graph, we are going to use the tick label. So tick label are nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. These are the tick label that are going to be used for each and everything. So in this way we can get the output of data visualization in the form of bar graph. So when we use bar graph, whenever you want to use the comparison in between the different categories of the data, at that time we can use the bar graph. But the condition is only one, that you have to compare only two parameters. So this is all about bar graph. Now we are moving towards the next type of graph, and the next type of graph are nothing but your histogram. If you are working in the field of image processing, most of the time whenever you draw the range of your pixels, how many number of pixels are available inside the image, if you want to extract RGB values from your images, at that time most of the researcher can deal with the histogram. Okay, so what is the definition of the histogram? Histogram is useful for the frequency distribution of the pixels if you are dealing with the images. Okay, so now we are going to see how we are going to plot the histogram. We see line graph, single line graph, double line graph. We are going to customize the graph, and then we can see the bar graph. Now we are moving towards the next type of graph, that is nothing but our histogram. So what is when we use histogram? As we already discussed in the previous example, for plotting a graph, you have to define which type of data you are having and in which format you want to show. Afterwards, you are going to be decide by which graph you want to show your data. Okay, so the next type of graph that I am having is nothing but histogram. So what is when we use histogram? So when we have to continuously measurement and want to understand the distribution of values, and we have to identify the outlier of each and every value, at that time we are going to use the histogram. I will already discuss one example regarding the image processing. I am having one image. I am going to extract the RGB component from the image. Now I want to show the frequency distribution, continuous measurement of all the pixels, and how we are going to understand the distribution of the R value, G value and blue value with the help of this histogram. Okay, now we are going to see how this histogram is going to be in work. So for drawing the histogram, the first stage is same for each and everything. That is nothing but we have to use matplot library. Okay, then we have to use the frequency. Now what is the meaning of this frequency? Here in this case we are going to use edges. Edges are 2, 5, 70, 40, 30. These are the edges that I am going to be discussed over here. So these are the frequencies that are going to be passed in the form of edges. Again, whatever the frequency you want to show, because histogram is nothing but it is useful for distribution parameter. So in distribution parameter, you require the help of frequency. So how you are going to pass the frequency? Again, I'm going to use one sample list. I'm going to declare all the frequency inside a list, and it is going to be list is going to be represented in the square bracket. Okay. So after implementing the matplot library, I am going for the edges. So these are the edges. Now there are two parameters we are having. We are having range. So what is the range of the distribution? So we start with 2, 5, 17. Now what is the range of these edges? If you came this year, built-in mutable sequence. Okay. So what is the use of these edges? These edges are nothing but what is the range? I am going to define the range as 0 to 100. It means that my histogram is going to be start from 0, and the limitation, it means that 100. From 0 to 100, I have to plot this frequency. So these are the frequency that I have to plot. And what is the range? I have to setting the intervals, the starting of the histogram starting from 0 and ending up to 100. Now what is the meaning of beans? Beans are nothing but intervals. It means that after 0 we are having 10, after 10 we are having 20, after 20 we are having 30, after 30 we are having 40. The intervals in between the range from 0 to 100, we are having how many number of histograms? We are having 10 histograms. Okay. So these are the range. We are going to define the range, and we are going to define the beans. So beans are nothing but interval. Range is nothing but starting point and ending point. So what is your starting point? The starting point of my graph is start from 0 and it is extended up to 100. I am going to use beans. Beans are useful for representing the range. Okay. It means that 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. Okay. Now we have to plotting a histogram. So for plotting a histogram, we are going to use function as plt.hist is a function to plot a histogram. So plt.hist is a function that is going to be used to plot a histogram. These are the frequencies. Edges are nothing but our frequency. We have to define the range, starting range and ending range. Then we have to define the beans. Beans is the range of the values that is going to be divide the entire range of values into a series of intervals. So how many number of intervals you require, and then count how many values you fall into each interval. Here we are going to use defined as a beans as 10. Matlab, our range is 100. 100 divided by 10. It means that I am having 10 values. Okay, so in this way we are going to identify the beans. Then we are going to define the range, which is nothing but table. The first value represent the minimum value, and last value, second value represent the maximum value. And the rest of the things are same. X label is useful for labeling the x-axis. Dot y label is useful for labeling the y-axis. Now in this case, what is our x-axis? In x-axis we require the age. So these are the age. And y-axis we require number of people. How many number of people fall into the category of the age? So in this way, up till now, what we will take for plt.x label, we are going to use x-axis. For plt.y label, we are going to use y-axis. But in this case, you want to distinguish which parameter is useful for which representing which things. So for that parameters, in this case, we are going to change the label. Again, it is the choice of the programmer by which way or what name you want to give the x-axis or y-axis. So the labeling, the name of the label is in our hand, and after that we are going to show the plot. Okay. So dot his is a function to plot the histogram. We are having edges, we are having beans, we are having range. Then we have to define the color as a yellow. Now his type. Now in what format you require the his type? If you thought that if you want to draw the his type as bar graph, it can show the type as his. So I'm going to consider as it as a bar chart. And what is the width? 0.8. So in this case, I'm going to use the his type as bar. It means that it can show the his type, and my graph is going to be shown in the form of bar chart. If you want to change it, you can change it. So his type is having different parameters. If you want to draw a bar, you can use bar. If you want to draw a step, you can get this step. If you want a step field, you can get this step field. So bar is a traditional bar type histogram. If multiple data are given in the bars are going to be arranged side by side. If you are using bar stack, it is a bar type histogram where multiple data are stacked on top to each other. State generates a line plot that is by default unfilled, and step field generate a line plot that is default filled. So it depends on you which type of hist type you require. In this case, I am going to use the bar. Okay, and the rest of the things are same. So what is the changes in this example as compared to the previous? We are going to define the frequency, we have to define the range, we have to define the beans, which type of plots you require, we have to define the range, we have to define the color of the graph, you have to define the hist type, you have to define the RB. Okay, and rest of the things are same. So now I am going to run this histogram. Dot show is a function, x label type, we are giving the title. We are going to run this selected code. Okay, so in this way I can get the graph. Closely observe this graph. This is the age, that is the frequency distribution of the number of peoples. 0 to 100 is our range, and after interval of 10 we can get the data. So what happens whenever we define the range? Okay, so it can create the range of intervals, which type of data you are expecting to visible in your graph. Okay, so whatever the title parameters that you are having, it depends on you which type of hist type you require. So depending on the availability of the data and the analysis of the data, you are also aligning the bar left, mid, and right. It is the optional. It is used. So each and everything is going to be discussed in the histogram parameter. Now, the next type of graph that we are going to use is a simple scatter plot. So when we use a scatter plot, that is very important for all of us, scatter plot. So if you want, when you have paired numerical data, if you are having a numerical data which is in the form of available in the form of pairs, at that time we are going to use this scatter plot. And where you are when your dependent variable may have multiple values, it means that your single variable is having multiple number of variables. At that time we are going to deal with the scatter plot. Okay, now we are going to plot this scatter plot. Again, for showing this, we are having one matplot library. Then we define the x-axis and a y-axis. We can give the label, we can define the, sorry, we are not giving the label, we are going to just declare the what we want on x-axis and what we want on the y-axis. It is going to be represented again in the form of list shown in the square bracket. Then we are going to plotting the points as a scatter plot. Now, whenever we want to plot a point, because scatter plot consists of a point in the scatter format, it can show only dots in the graph. Okay, so for plotting the scatter plot, I am going to use a function plot.scatter. For histogram, plot.hist, plt.hist. For drawing a bar graph, plot.bar. Okay, so these are the number of each and every graph is having their own way of defining the function. So for plotting a scatter chart, we are having plot chart. What we have to plot x comma y. These are my two variables that I'm going to define in the form of list. Then I'm going to define the label as a star. Okay. Then we are going to use green color. We have to mark the dots in the form of star, and what is the size as a 30. So here we use plt.scatter function to plot a scatter plot, and like a line we define x and y corresponding y-axis here. Then marker argument is going to be used to set the character to use as a marker and its size. So here in this case our marker is star and the size of the marker is 30. You can use anything as per your own convenience. Then after that we can give the label to different axes that is available on the scatter plot. Again, in scatter plot is going to be drawn in between x-axis and y-axis, vertical and horizontal line. We can give the label as x-axis and y-axis. We can give the title as a scatter plot. Likewise, when we draw two lines, we can use a one legend function. Okay, so in this case also, for knowing the variables, we can use legend. Dot legend is a function that is going to be used, and then we can plot the graph. Okay, now we can execute this. So here in this case, we can come to know that these are the scatter plot. The scatter plot are going to be shown in the form of stars. Okay. Here we can use as a legend as a star. Okay. So dot legend can by default considering the labels that are going to be used by you. Okay. So by default, a small rectangular box is going to be appeared. It can consider as a default value. Okay. So in this way, we can draw the what we can say we are going to use the scatter plot. So scatter plot is going to be used for paired numerical data. The next type of graph, up till now what we use line graph, double line graph, then customization line graph, then bar graph, then I think we can go for a histogram, and then latest right now we can see the scatter plot. Now we can go for how to draw the pie chart. So again, when we have to use the pie chart. So if you want to use the pie chart, we can use the pie chart. Pie chart is going to be used when you are trying to compare the parts of whole. They do not show changes over time. Whatever the changes that are going to be done in the previous graph are going to be shown by the graph. But in pie chart, it is a static structure. Once you define your variables, they do not show any kind of changes over the time. Okay. So for that purpose, we are going to deal with the pie chart. So for learning the pie chart, we have to import the libraries. So what libraries we are having? Again, we declare matplot library. Okay. Then we are having labels. We have to define the label in this case. Okay. So what are the activities? Whenever you draw any type of graph at that time, you have to show the activities. Okay. Here we are going to draw a pie chart. Okay. So pie chart, for drawing a pie chart, we use plot.pie. We are going to use a function plt.pie. Now in this case, starting from starting from here. So we are going to implement the matplot library. Then we are going to define the labels. How many number of labels we want? We are going to define the label in the form of activities. So activities are the labels. So what are the activities I want to show? I want to show the activities in the form of eat, sleep, work, play. If you want to add more, you can add. Okay. Then you have to define how much amount of portion is going to be covered by each activity. So each activity can cover the portion up to 3. Sleep consider the 7, means 30. We can call it as how much amount of percentage you require. Okay. On the basis of this, we can draw this. Then color for each label. How you have to in pie chart, if you want that each and every what we can say, each and every part is having some different color. So we have to define the color for each and every label. So red, yellow, green and blue, these 4 colors are going to be used to label the thing, which are going to be called as slices. So labels are going to be used as a list called as activities. Then we are going to do the slices. Okay. Now we are going to use the color for each and every parameter. Each and everything is going to be represented by different color. That's why you are going to use the color. Then you are going to plotting the chart. That is very important. I will show you. Okay. So what is the portion of each label can be defined using another list called as slices. So we have to define the slices. Then we have to define the label. Label are nothing but our activities. It is already declared on the. It is already declared over here in the form of activities. Then we have to define the colors. Colors are already defined. Then start angle. Now what you have to define the angles of each and everything. So I am going to define the start angle as a 90. Then shadow is equal to true. It means that it will show a shadow beneath each label in the pie chart. Okay. If you are having A and B are the 2 parameters in the pie chart, you have to show the what we can say boundary in between the A and B. We are going to use a shadow is equal to true. If you shadow is equal to false, it means that it does not show any shadow. So shadow is equal to true is nothing but it will show a shadow beneath each table in a pie chart. Then we are having Start angle. Start angle is nothing but it can rotate the start of the pie chart by giving degrees counterclockwise from the x-axis. So whatever the x-axis we are having, on the basis of that we are going to use the start angle. In this case we are going to use the 90. So start angle rotates the start of the pie chart by giving degrees counterclockwise from the x-axis. Then we are having one more parameter, explode. It is going to be used to set the fraction of the radius. This explode function is going to be used to set the fraction of the radius with which we offset each wedges. And then we are having auto PCT. Auto PCT is nothing but it is one of the format value for each label. Here we have to set it to show percentage value only up to 1 decimal. So whatever the percentage value we are having, suppose my percentage value is 33.12345. So how many number of decimals you require? I am going to require only one number of decimals. On the basis of that, I am going to declare that. Then plotting the legend, again it is the legend function that is going to be used to show the colors, and then we are going to use plot.show. So in this way we can define each and everything related with that. So here in this case you can come to know that what are the activities we are having. So these are the number of activities we are having. Then this is the legend, these are the colors, these are the shadows. Then AutoPad is nothing but our 1 decimal value. Okay, so in this way we can draw the pie chart. Now we are moving towards the next type of chart. That is nothing but, now in this case we are going to plot the curve. As we know that most of the time we are dealing with the equations whenever we do any type of research, or whenever we are having number of variable and we are going to write some kind of equations and generate the curve. So it is very difficult for us to generate the curve. So for generation of the curves, we are going to use some functions that is going to be used to draw the curve. Okay. So what is the use of this curve? Curve fitting can be used to fill in the possible data points. Okay. So you have to identify, if you want to identify some missing values, or if you want to analyze any data. So for the analyzation of the data, you can use the curve. Okay. So for drawing a curve, you can draw the curve for most of the time for equations only. Okay. So you are having different number of equations. For different equations, how we are going to plot the graph, that is very important. Okay. So now I am going to plotting a curve. So plotting a curve is very important parameters we are having. At the initial phase, we can draw a simple graph, a simple curve, so that you can come to know the parameter. In this case, we can add one more parameter, that is up till now, whatever the graph we saw, we can only dealing with the matplot libraries. Okay, matplot library we are going to be used, or we use matplot library. Now we are going to use NumPy. So NumPy is another library function. So if you want to show some curve for a general equations, so here we are adding one more value, one more library, that is nothing but NumPy. So what is the use of this NumPy? NumPy, it is used in the multi-dimensional array. If you are having some array in your program, okay, if you want to show array of a specific program, okay, in this case we require this library. If you don't use this library, you are not able to get the curve. Okay, so NumPy, or it can give the error, missing some libraries or such kind of error you are getting. Okay, so here in this case, up till now we are only dealing with the matplot library. Now we are going to use one more library, that is nothing but NumPy. So what is the use of this NumPy? It is a general purpose array processing package in Python. So Python can provide a package which is in correlation with the array processing. If you are having any array in your program for the processing of that data, you are having NumPy library. So there are up till now we are having only one library as a matplot. for graphical representation. Now we add numpy, which is useful for processing of the data. So basically, whenever we want to draw a curve, we have to again define or setting the coordinates. Okay. So in this case, we have to define the x value and y value. So what is the x? X is equal to np dot range. Now np stands for numpy. If you get dot plt, if you are having plt dot show, it means that you are having matplotlib library.
మీకు ఒకటి చెప్పనండి
Okay.
పని
So
లేదని అనకూడదు పని
if you
లేకపోతే
want
పని
to show
చూపిస్తుంది.
the range, okay. So
పని లేదని పని లేదని
numpy is
ఎవరికి
going to
చెప్పండి
numpy is going to be represented with the help of
ప్రపంచంలో పనికిరానిది లేదు పని
NP
లేని
function.
ఫ్రెండ్ అంతే ఇసుకు కూడా వేటే మట్టి కూడా వేటే
I request all participants to kindly mute yourself.
ఏది అలా కాదు పని ఉంచుకో
Okay. So here in this case, we are having numpy. We are going to use numpy library and we are going to set np.arrange. So for to set the x-axis value, now we have to set the value for x-axis. We are going to use np.arrange. So np.arrange is a method in which the first two arguments are for range. Okay. So whatever the first two arguments we are having, these are going to be used for a range, and third one for stepwise increment. So if you are having a one type of curve, so you have to define the range. So the first time to when we draw a histogram, at that time we can state the starting value and ending value. The starting value is 0 and ending value is 100. So in this case, for stating x coordinate, we have to define first two values, that is 0 and 2. These are nothing but our range, and the third value is nothing but stepwise increment. Because what happens whenever we draw a simple curve, each and every curve is having some kind of increment on the basis of with respect to x-axis and y-axis. Okay, so you have to define the parameters and then you can draw the curve. Okay, so the first two arguments are range and the third arguments are stepwise increment, and the result of this is going to be stored in the numpy. It is the numpy array. Okay, now we have to set here in this case we can set the coordinate for x. Now we are going to set the coordinates for y. So to get the correspondent for this x-axis value, we require y-axis value. So you require some kind of curve. So to get the corresponding y-axis values, we use predefined function sp.np.sine. So which type of wave you require? I am require sine wave. np.sine is a method on the numpy array that I am going to use. So in this way, we are going to define the x coordinate and y coordinate. Okay, so it is a simple graph. What we already do in this example, we are going to include two libraries, numpy, because numpy is useful for processing the data related with the form which is available in the form of array. Then we are having matplot library. Then we define two coordinates, x coordinate and y coordinate. Whenever you define x coordinate, the first two arguments are for range and the third arguments are for stepwise increment, and the result of this is going to be stored in the numpy array. Then we are going to setting up the y coordinates. Okay, so to get the corresponding y-axis value, we can define a function, predefined function we use. It is nothing but np.sine wave, and all these values is going to be stored in the x. That's why you can call the value as x. And then finally we can plot the point by passing x and y value. We are going to pass the argument of x, which is available in the x and y. We are going to plot the points, and then for plotting the points we are going to use plot dot point for x comma y. It is plt dot plot is a function, and then we can show this. So how we can plot this? So in this way I can get the curve. Okay, if you observe closely this curve, you can also give the labels if you want. If you thought that I want to give the label, you can give the label x-axis and y-axis. It depends on you. Okay, this is a simple curve. This is a sine wave curve where we are having two different types of parameters we are going to be considered. For 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, these are the parameters I consider, and by default it can calculate it. Okay, so up till now we discuss about the various type of plots that we can create with the help of matplot library. Okay, so there are more number of plots are also available where we are going to use the subplots. So up till now we can draw with we are dealing with the simple type of plots. Now we can draw more subplots. It means that for we don't want a single sine wave. If we want multiple sine wave in a specific graph, okay. So how we are going to divide our screen into 4 different parameters? That is very interesting and easy as well as confusing parameters if you know each and everything. Okay. So for that, for this type of graph, you should having your own each and everything. You should know what we learn up till now. What is the use of matplot library? What are the different functions we use? What is the graph labeling? How to label the graph? How to show the plot the graph? And how to identify the value. Now I am going to plotting the curve. Okay, plotting the curve is already done. Now we are going to plot the subplot. Okay, so for plotting the points, the initial stage is nothing but your just waiting. Okay, so for plotting the sub points in a curve, now we are dealing with the subplot. It means that we want to plot more number of curves in our subplots are required when we use this subplot. Subplots is going to be used when we want to show 2 or more plots in the same figure. Okay, if you want to show 2 or more figure in the same graph, you are going to use this subplot. Okay, and we can do it by 2 ways by using 2 different methods. So I am only use one of the method as we are having less number of time is remaining. We are having only half hour is remaining. Okay, so for drawing the subplots, we are having different types of libraries we require. Okay, so again in this case we require 2 different libraries, matplot library and numpy library. Matplot is compulsory is going to be used because we are going to draw the graph, and numpy because we are going to use the array. Okay, so here in this case we are having the 2 types of parameters. Then now we are going to generate the coordinates. Okay, so whenever we draw any type of graph, we have to identify the coordinates. So for that purpose we have to define the coordinates. Okay, for that, for the generation of the coordinates, we are going to use one function as def. Def is used for define the function for creating the plot, because in a single plot we require 4 parts. We are going to divide a single rectangular box into the 4 parts. That's why for that rectangular portion we have to define a plot that is going to be defined with the help of create plot. So with the help of this create plot, we are going to generate the new plot. So it is going to be defined as def. We have to define def, and we are going to generate the create plot for p type. Means if we are having a p type of value that we are going to be considered. Now we are going to setting up the x-axis value. Okay, so what is the setting the x-axis value? Again, we are going to use an array structure. Okay, now we are going list. Whenever we define the list are going to be declared inside the square bracket. If you want to generate the array, it is going to be shown in the round bracket. That is the basic difference in how you are able to understand list and array. List is available inside the square bracket, and array is available in the round bracket. Okay, so here np.array, it is one of the function which is going to be used as a numpy variable. We are going to define the x-axis variable. Now we are going to define the y-axis. Now whenever we draw the subplots in a specific graph, okay, for each and everything we have to define the axis value. Okay, that's why in this case we are going to define the type of y-axis. So in the first case I am going to require as linear. It means I require only a single line. I can get as a single line in this way. If 45-degree angle, we want a linear line. If p type is equal to line linear, it means that my equation is y is equal to x. If I can get the quadratic equation, it means that y is equal to x square. Else if, what is, now I'm going to write if else statement. Why there is a need to write the if else statement? Because we are going to plot a graph, and in that specific graph we are going to divide the window into the 4 parts. So for 4 window we require 4 output. Okay, so we are going to use if and else if. ELIF stand for else if. Okay, so whenever we talk about the parameters related with that, so at that time we have to think about the setting of the y-axis value. So what is the y-axis value? If p type is equal to linear, we are getting the argument as y is equal to x. If p is exactly equal to quadratic, it means that y is equal to x square. If the value of p type is cubic, then x raised to power 3. If the value of p type is quartic, it means that x raised to power 4. So in this way we can define, and we are going to refine the value of x comma y. So with the help of this return function, we can withdraw the value in the form of x comma y. Now we have to setting a style. Now in this case we have to setting a style to use. Which type of style you want? So in this case, to given the style, we can use 538 plt.style.use is equal to 538. It means that the styling of the plot that can be configured by setting different styles available, or we can setting the variables by our own way. Okay, so there are lots of features are associated with that. So if I'm going to talk about the plt.style.use 538, the styling of the plots can be configured by setting different styles available. Okay, if you thought that if you want to different types of styles, you can use different types of styles as well. So you can define the axis title size, you can use the axis style as a presentation, you can use the composing style as a background. So what are the temporary styles you require? You can get the temporary styles. Okay, so it depends on you whether you want the data in the form of grid or anything else. So for this purpose, we are going to use the 538 is one of the parameters that I'm going to consider. Then next parameters we are having is nothing but plt.figure. Figure is equal to plt.figure. Figure act as a top level container for all the plots that is going to be drawn inside the graph, inside the rectangular window. So this figure act as a top level container for all plot elements. Okay, so we define a figure as fig, which will contain all the subplot. So this is the main figure. In this main figure we require subplot. Okay, so with the help of this, which type of plot we require? 4 subplot we require in the form of linear, quadratic, cubic and quartic. So in this single figure, we are going to define this single figure into 4 parameters. In one window we can get linear, in another quadratic, in third cubic, and in fourth is quartic. Okay, so what is the, now we have to define the subplots, in which position, which figure you want. It is very important, because unless and until you don't show the figure, it is can create the some kind of problems. Okay, so you have to generate the subplots. So figure, I am going to write as figure dot add as a subplot 222 221, figure dot add as a subplot 222, figure dot add subplot as a 223. Here we use fig dot add underscore subplot. This is one of the method to define the subplot and their position. We use figure dot add underscore subplot, which is used to define the subplot and their position. It is one of the function. So this function is used to define the position to each and every subplot. Okay, so this subplot is going to be defined as, the first parameter is 221. If I'm going to talk about 2 consists of number of rows, 2 stands for number of columns, and plot number is nothing but 1. So 221 is the first in the first plot, 222 in the second plot, 223 in the third plot, and 224 in the fourth plot. So if a subplot is applied to a figure, the figure will be notionally split into n number of rows, into n number of columns, and it is having some subaxis. If I am going to talk about fig dot add underscore subplot 221, so add underscore subplot stands for 221 is nothing but first to represent n number of rows, n rows, next to represent n calls, and last one represent the plot number. If a subplot is applied to a figure, the figure will be notionally split into n number of rows into n number of columns, and on the basis of that we are going to generate the sub-axis. So the parameter plot underscore number that is going to be used by us identifies the subplot, and that the function going to be called has to be create. Suppose the plot number can range from 1 to a maximum number of n number of rows and n number of columns. So how many number of n number of rows you are having, you have to identify it. How many number of columns that you are having, you have to identify it, and then you are going to generate your plot. If the values of these three parameters are less than 10, if the values of these three parameters 2 to 1 are less than 10, the function subplot can be called with one parameter. The function subplot can be called with one integer parameter, where 100 represent n number of rows, the 10th position represent the n columns, and the unit represent the plot number. Okay, this means instead of subplot 2, 3, 4, we can write subplot 2. We are not going to write 2, 2, 1. We can write 2, 3, 4. Okay, so these are the number of n rows, n columns, and n number of parameters that are going to be used, 2, 2, 2, and in this case. Okay, suppose I am going to talk about 2, 3, 4. So 2, 2, 1 can become into the first portion, 2, 2, 2 consider into the second, 2, 2, 3 in the third, and 2, 2, 4 in the fourth. Whenever we run this program, you can come to know the output. Okay, so these are, in this way we are going to identify the subplots and their position in the figure. Now we are going to plot the figure. The figure is already defined in the form of else if on the top of the code. Here we already use if and else statement. Now we are going to plotting the point on each subplot. So how many number of subplots we require? So that is going to be explained. So here in this case, x comma y is equal to create underscore plot linear plt1 dot plot x comma y, color is equal to red, plt dot set title, we have to set the title as. Okay, now we have to plot our points on each subplot. We already divide a single chart into the 4. Okay, we are having our own location. Now we are going to plot our points on each subplot. First we generate x and y axis coordinates using create plot. Okay, so the create plot is useful for generating the x and y axis coordinates, and this create plot is a function. Okay, this is useful for specifying the curve, which type of curve you want, you are going to define that. Then we can plot those sub points on our subplot using dot plot function. So create plot is for generation of the first, then dot plt dot plot is used to show the points on the subplot using dot plot method. Title of subplot is set by which type of title you want, it is going to be set with the help of dot set title. And the dollar, here in this case we use dollar. Using dollar at starting and end of the title text will ensure that underscore is read as a subscript, and this is going to be considered as a superscript. So what is the subscript and superscript value? Underscore is going to be considered as a subscript and it is going to be considered as a superscript. Okay, then after creating the plot, we are having 4 subplot. So we can write the code for 4, 1, 2, quadratic, linear, cubic, and quartic. Now we are going to adjusting the space in between the 4 charts. So you can adjust the space with the help of fig.subplot, which is already declared at the top of the code. Now we have to define this, adjust the space. H space is equal to 0.5 and vertical space is equal to 0.5. So this is another utility method which can use to create the spaces between the subplot. So how you can generate the space, horizontal space, how much space you want, you are going to declare, and the W space you can declare. And then at the end, you can use plt.show. Okay, so in this way, we are dealing with the code. So this is a simple and as well as it consists of more number of codes to run the code. Okay, just wait. Okay, so in this way we can get the output. We can get 4 windows in a single chart. We can define linear. This is second, quadratic. This is x raised to power 3 cubic, and this is x raised to power 4. That is quartic. We already declare over here. These are the 4 parameters. Then we define the styles. Then we define the figure. Then on which we have to identify the location 221, 223, yeah, 221, 222, and this way. Then we are going to generate linear color. Color of this is red. Then we are going to set the title. And in this way, we are going to generate the subplots. So this is the simple way to generate the subplot. The another method for the same is nothing but you can define the plot. You can set in your x-axis as a range. Then you can define your y-axis in the form of sine wave value. Then you can write your LCIF function. You are going to define your subplot with your in this case we are going to use 221. If you want that, if you want to define their position, you can write plot dot subplot in the form of grid. If you want grid, you can use grid. You are going to the location, then you can define the row span and column span. So this is the another way to define the curve. Hope I am able to explain the different types of charts that we required in the data visualizations. So this is all about from my side. If you are having any query, you can ask me. Hello? Hello? If you are interested, hello, sir.
Any participants can ask any questions, clarify the doubts from the resource person.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
What is the difference between PyCharm and Spider as well as Jupyter?
Sir, all these tools are used for basically what happens whenever we want to work in the if you want to work in the field of Python, if you want to use the Python, it depends. There are three different types of IDE environment is available. Spider is one of the environment where you can write the code. Jupyter is also having the same. One more thing, you are having Google Colab. In Google Colab, you did not need to install anything. You just go on the. I will show you. I am having just wait. I will show you one on website on Google Chrome. You can type Google Colab, so you can get the inbuilt libraries over there. You have to just write the code and you can get the output. So there is not very much a difference in between the Spider, Jupyter, and Anaconda. It depends on the flavor of the programmer on which platform. Platform is already decided in the form of Python. On what ID he wants to work. On the basis of that, he can select. Otherwise, all the functionalities are same. In Jupyter, you are not able to get the alternate three windows. You can get the output in the below of the code. In Spider, you can get the code on the another window. That is the main difference. Otherwise, all the functions are same. It depends on you which parameters or which tool you want to use. In Google Colab, you just write the code and you can get the output, and your data is going to be stored on the cloud, and you can create the drive as well.
What about PyCharm? PyCharm, sir? PyCharm
is also same, sir. Not a very big difference. One more parameter tool is going to be used in the form of Kaggle. Have you heard this word Kaggle? Kaggle?
Yes.
Okay. So Kaggle is again one of the tools that are going to be used for the data visualization. Okay. So PyCharm is again, it is the best ever considered as a IDE. Okay, and you can access the command line, which is going to be, if you want to have a database, if you want to provide some kind of connectivity. So PyCharm is at that time, PyCharm is very suitable for you. Hello?
Sir. Hello?
Hello?
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yeah, you can ask, ma'am.
For the scatter plot, you have mentioned S equal to 30. That means what, sir? It is a number of points in that scatter plot, or what?
That is the size, ma'am. You can show, it can show the size.
No. You have showed the scatter plot graph, sir. But I am not able to see that. What is that meaning of S equal to 30?
30 is not, 30 points are not there, ma'am. We'll show you.
No, it indicates what, sir? I'm not.
Size of the star.
Size of the star. Okay, sir. And one more above that bar graph you have put, no, sir. In that x-axis scales 20, 40, 60, 80 it is coming. It is like every time the x-axis scale will change, or what? You have given the range 0 to 100. but y-axis scale is different, but x-axis is in terms of even though bins are in tens, but the scales are
Okay.
20, 40, 60, 80 like that it is there. So how
So it
that
can-
scaling is happening?
It can we can identify the range, or in range we can use this 0 as a starting point, 100 as a ending point, and we can
Yeah.
identify the bins as a 10. It means that
Okay.
it can consider the slot of 10. If you come to across the frequencies are available in the form of 2, 11, 15. So I'm going to use the his type as a bar. If I'm going to use the frequency distribution, so it can show the plot, you can see the different chart. So it depends on you which type of flavor you want. If you thought that I don't want the range as I don't want the bin as a 10, you can consider it as a 15, you can use as a 2. You can also consider the bins as a 5 as well. So it depends on the programmer by which way he wants
Okay,
to show his plot.
based on the bins, the scaling will differ.
Yeah.
X-axis you have done 20,
Yeah.
40 like
Yeah.
that.
It is already defined by me.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am.
Any more participants?
So, sir, 1 second, I will ask you one question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I am now researching as in JNT Anantapur, Andhra Pradesh.
Okay.
Now I am switching to the IT side.
Okay.
Is there any difficulty facing as a fresher as well as experience? How can I get the chance in IT sector? What will you give the suggestion to me?
First of all, if you want to go in the field of IT, if you came across whatever the persons I came across, whenever I give my presentation to most of the persons, most of the people thought that yeah, I want to go in the field of IT, but most of the IT analysts are now using the Python. Are you familiar with Python, sir?
Yes, sir.
So my suggestion to you is just go for the different types of online courses that are available on the Python. You can just go for that, and you can do as much as practice you can. You can get the ready-made code if you want. If you thought that yeah, I want to generate some kind of code and I don't know how to generate the project. So there are some on Google. There are some websites that can give you the ready-made codes. So unless and until you don't practice, you are not able to understand. Right now in this 2-hour session, I will show you different types. I already shown you different types of plots, but unless and until you don't work on this code, you are not able to understand anything. So if you want to go in the field of IT, you have to continuously be in touch with your Python programming and do practice again and again.
Thank you, sir. Please share your details on the chat group, sir.
Yeah, sir. Whom I am speaking right now? Just right now.
Hello, Balakrishna. Balakrishna, I think.
What you want, sir? I want to show my name to you.
No, sir. Your details, is there any mail ID as well as any WhatsApp number, whatever?
This is my name. This is my WhatsApp number. And this is my mail ID. Okay. If you face any type of, if you need any type of help, you can call me.
Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Any more participants? I think sir has clarified all your hope. I hope all the doubts and whatever the question you asked. So,
sir, I want to share something.
yes.
I am very thankful to Dr. Pawan sir and Srinivasa College for giving me an opportunity to share my views in this 2 session. I am really happy that I can get such kind of participants who really want to learn some new things. The participants are really good, and I really enjoyed whenever I am going to deliver my sessions. So very thankful to Dr. Pawan sir, the team of Dr. Pawan sir, and the authorities management of Srinivasa College for giving me an opportunity to share my views. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
participants.
Thank you, Dr. Mohit, as a honorary resource person is with us. So I thankful once again to Dr. Mohit Vati and also the Rice and Sony University Management Committee to providing the excellent resources. the feedback already. Hope you click the carefully feedback. And tomorrow morning session. So from again the new topic which we are going to. So in that connection, so morning you can join at 15-20 minutes earlier before the resource person arrives. So link I am going to share you in the morning. Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.